Ba da ba 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 da ba 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 da ba 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 da. Hey, welcome. Welcome to the Black Site Metal King Studio Malev crossover event, something that hasn't been achieved since Infinity War. A magnum opus of gaming, currently.
No.
Wait, who's Iron Man then?
I am Iron Man.
Oh, okay. Who
I'm
am I?
also Thor.
This is a good conversation to start us off. Which Avenger are you?
Yeah, but who am I then?
I feel like Ben would be Ant-Man.
I'm the Loki croc shoe.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
take
Malev
that.
is Loki, Crocodile Loki,
No,
eating
Croc.
cats.
This is the croc. The croaky.
Oh, just the Croc. Okay, my bad. Sean,
Star
I feel like
Studded string.
you're like Agent Coulson. I feel like.
He's not an Avenger, and he died way before Infinity.
Did he though? Did you not watch the extended canon show, Agents of Shield?
No.
He just
Did
took
he
a
come back
vacation
to
to
life?
Tahiti. So kind of.
Wait, what?
I wish
won't
I
spoil
could take
that.
an extended vacation to Tahiti.
Yeah, no
Hello.
spoilers.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
On the Black Site show, we're here with Sean and Malev. We're gonna
y'all.
talk some sludge and build some boys. Bros.
I love
girls.
those boys.
There could be girls in the sludge world, right?
Should have looked for those kits.
Oh,
Should have looked at the other.
There are
kits.
definitely girls in the sludge world, but most historical kits don't include girls.
Maybe we should make historical
girls,
women.
No girls allowed in tabletop gaming seems to be
No!
a thing.
That's what we need gatekeepers for.
For sure, to make sure there's no female casualty markers.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing today?
Yeah.
Welcome. This
Look
is
at
a
I
this
feel
big box
totally
I got.
adequate.
How's
Bruh.
everyone's sound levels? This is a little bit different of a setup for us. We've never tried this one before.
Whoa, Sean, me too. Cool.
Malevolent MC.
All right. Everyone's showing off their kits
Dang,
that
you
we're
got
working
two
with.
of them?
Yeah. Because
should've
they're
just
only
had you
30
buy them.
I'm mixing actually. I'm going from Parry and Warlord potentially. I'm not sure.
Cool.
So,
That's
and the reason I could do that, Sean, is because it doesn't matter what you have for sludge, right?
Mm-mm.
Technically
I'll have a
speaking,
Fire
you're
Warrior
only
off here.
allowed to use the models that you want to use.
Okay.
Whoa!
Copy
What a
that.
rule.
You have to agree with yourself which models you're gonna use.
Malev is a bit low.
Yeah.
Malev, if you could turn yourself up a little bit more, that'd be fantastic. Still, I don't know why.
Let's
Wait,
do
wonder
it.
if I can just turn you up in Discord.
Yeah, check my level in Discord actually, because I have all y'all.
Boom, nailed it. Just raised you
Thank
up. You might be even
Dude.
too loud now.
Check it
I'm
out.
probably destroying everyone's ears.
Oh man, look at Sean's toys.
There we go.
I got my Blaster Volume 3 with packed with sludge, and I got my sludge token sheet right
Sludge token
here. And
sheets.
I have a whole game of sludge set up in the background here. And I have a Relic Blade bookmarker marking my sludge reference sheet.
Whoa! I don't even have any sludge
Indeed.
tokens.
What is this?
I feel like I'm not cool.
It's a bases, bro.
Yeah, but how the heck would you normally use them? Like, there's not cavalry models in this kit. Like, I just
See?
don't know.
Malev, when a man and a woman, when they love each other,
When they want to make a base.
They
So,
split
walk me
it.
through what. Okay, so yeah.
Hold on. now.
oh, that was
I
like
saw
a
that.
dad. That was like a dad noise, dude.
Is there a way? Alright, hang on. If I open Twitch and then make sure it's muted, I should be able to see the chat, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I do. Yeah.
Twitch. Dot. What's it called? TV?
Fred
Twitch
Frog
dot
is saying
TV.
thanks for using Parry miniature models because they're super easy to get there.
Oh, good.
Which
Ooh, check
Yeah,
out.
like-
They aren't that easy. They
I
aren't
feel
that
like
easy
is
for
a
me to
jab
get.
to us because Fred can't buy our kit super easily. So
Mhm.
eyes on you, Fred.
Oh,
Eyes on you.
Is he making fun of
Yo,
you?
shout out to the Perrys for always including these dope little informational booklets.
Serious.
Look at this. This battle sites of the northwestern frontier. I didn't even know. I've heard of this word before.
What, Northwestern?
No,
Frontier?
Punjab.
Oh,
No, I have heard.
Punjab. Yeah. My parents lived in Punjab for a while.
Snap. Well, there's a
They
lot.
have
There was a
been.
lot of battles that happened around here, apparently, in Afghanistan back then.
Were your parents responsible for all the battles?
No, they lived there
They responsible
more
for the
recently.
battles?
All right, so I don't see any. Well, it says welcome to the chat room. Is this visible?
Yeah. Once people chat, you can see it.
Okay, cool.
New messages.
All right, that's all I wanted.
So here's the deal. We were like, we should do a hangout build stream for Sludge because it seems like everyone's always got a lot of questions on like what to build with and how to build stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and so there are probably enough people here to start talking about Sludge, right? Or should I wait a
no,
minute?
dude, talk away.
Sludge it up. Ooh, speaking of.
Yeah, so Sludge is a dark fantasy war game set in a doom age of black powder. So it's like the world setting, the official world setting of Sludge is that there were arcanist guilds who started mining the heartwood of the world tree, and it unlocked all this power. And then they got driven greedier and greedier and building more and more in the age of arcanism. But then it started to actually kill the tree. And the tree is actually like a skeletal structure holding the whole world together. So things started to actually decay and fall apart. And the land broke apart and most people died. And but now it's like 300 years after that. So there are a bunch of states and kingdoms all suspended throughout this like crazy network of tracts of land suspended in the world tree. And there are still arcanists and they're still harvesting world tree, even though it destroyed the world. And so, but people are able to like get this like kind of mockery of immortality by consuming world tree. And the tracts of land that are viable are really hotly contested. So it's a black powder rule set. In a lot of ways, it's pretty traditional in that the unit types are like primarily line infantry, and then there's light cavalry and heavy cavalry and artillery. But then there's fantasy elements, like there's sorcerers and arcanists who are support casters that buff your units or cast psychological damage spells on the enemy. And there are also knights. So in true Sean Sutter form, there's really powerful, heavily armored knights. So yeah, there's mounted knights and foot knights, and they're like hyper elite battle troops with like armor that can stop bullets and enchanted weapons that can cleave through people. So it's very fun. It's alternating activations, so you're able to get pretty dynamic play, very highly tactical, rather than a more stepping back strategic game that you'd get in more traditional black powder war games. So it plays fast. It has magic and stuff like that. So the idea is that the armies you build, there are theoretically an unlimited number of kingdoms, and sultanates, and empires and tribes throughout the branchways of the world tree. And so it's an invitation for people to kitbash and build black powder armies. Or really, there are rules for like pull weapons and bows also, so you can go back even to Dark Age armies.
So I've got I have some Agincourt French infantry, and I have a Continental infantry.
Yes.
So could I mix these crossbows and these rifles in my army?
Yeah, each units of line infantry are put on stands. So you'd have a group of troops on a 40 millimeter base, and then a minimum size for a regiment is 3 stands. So this unit of three stands of Norman heavy infantry would be a line infantry unit with pole weapons. And so in the case of bows or guns, you just want to have at least 3 stands equipped with the same equipment.
So that leads me to
equipped with the same equipment. Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, but normally I feel like the maximum is 6 stands per unit of line infantry. So I usually have 5 or 6. You can have a couple of minimum units because you need a unit of line infantry for every unit of elites in your army. So if you want lots of foot knights, you can have minimum units of line infantry, which would be 3.
That's cool. I like that.
So what would be the core of a sludge army? Like, I got all these kits in front of me. I really enjoy kit fashion. Where should I start?
Yeah. You probably with those kits, you've got enough bodies for 2 small armies or 1 like standard size army.
Okay.
And you'd want to decide what you want to equip your guys with, but you'd want to start with a unit of line infantry or 2 units of line infantry. And so I'd start
I'm seeing some
by
poles. I see some 2-handed axes. Those are calling out to me.
Yeah, I think I have
It's
that
got
frame.
muskets on muskets right here.
One guy has a trumpet.
Yeah, you can
That's
have
like-
a musician in your.
That's like a spear.
I think I use that trumpet as one of the either a chaplain or a sorcerer in one of my armies, so that he's announcing his spells with his horn.
So if I like these axes, would I just build what a minimum would be 9 figures that are holding 2-handed axes?
What are they based on? Which is the size of the
40 millimeters, right?
40 mils?
Yeah, 40 to 50. So if you have kits that are scaled a little bit bigger, you can go up to 50. But the idea is for them to be on those like tightly packed
What size are
regiment.
these? These are.
Would a
That's the
line infantry of
cannon.
axes, is that a thing? Is that a thing that I can do?
Yeah, is there line infantry melee dudes that are not knights?
Yeah, they have pole weapons. You could represent them with swords and shields if you like that, but I think from my understanding historically, if you're going to go into battle, your main weapon would be a pole weapon, whether it be a spear or a halberd or an axe.
So I can make 9 units here, some with some 2-handed axes, some with spears, and I'll just call them like.
And they'll
line
fit together. Yeah. Let me. I guess it's inside, but yeah, I put that unit. I had some guys with axes and some with lances, spears, all on the same basis. So intermixed with various.
Have to bring up these sludge heads too. You have the Imperial and Royalist Battalion. Buy our products. But with that considered, I'm assuming these guys on the bottom here are kind of who we're building out for our line infantry.
The line infantry, yeah. So it'd be your choice if you wanted to use the Imperial or Royalist heads. And I mean, there aren't specific rules for those factions yet. I intend to write them, but I have to do things one step at a time.
I like the Imperials, I think.
This is a 40 mil with 3 guys on this thing? Dang, it seems so tiny.
It is, but that's the idea, is to get you don't have to glue them on before you paint them. Some people paint them separately. I figure if they're tightly packed, you don't have to paint them.
I am learning that. So hold on, I know that you sent some. Hey!
Whoa.
And guess what's? Wait, are these are not 40 mils though? No, they're they're bigger.
Yeah, I've got some 60 mil. I've got
40.
some 60 mil bases here, but I don't have any 40s. But
That's
that's okay.
too big.
That's okay.
Illegal.
Banned.
I'm calling the police. I got 40 mils in the D&G style, or the same style bases that you use for the relic figures.
I'm just gonna base them separately for now, and then I'll just pull them off their bases later.
True though, should probably just popsicle sticks and fools instead of What size is this?
Yeah, historical figures paint up.
Connor, do we need to make like a pack of like 140 mil discs?
I feel like we need to make a little pack. Yeah.
Oh, like a sludge MDF joint.
Oh, we have actual discs too.
Oh yeah, the ones that you guys just put in your
starter
figures.
Pack? Something like that.
Yeah.
Because I have these ones from Sean, but these ones are. These appear to be. Yeah, they appear to be 6.
All right, so I've got my sludge heads here. I've got 18 of them. Obviously, I don't need. Maybe I build 18. I don't know. I'm just gonna start building. I think some spear.
Yeah, my experience just clipping out a bunch of the bodies is a good place to start.
Yeah,
because most of the kits, it doesn't matter which arms go on which bodies.
Right.
At least with the parry ones. I don't know about Warlord, but the Warlord kit I have was 2-part models. It was like there was bodies and backpacks.
What base size does like your little king guy? And
so you have a commander.
Yeah.
And he can go on anything from 25 up. You can field him. He's free. And you field him either by himself or you can have him equipped with bodyguards. So when I have
the 4 bodyguards that we were talking about earlier too.
See, this unit is my commander for my Imperial Warband. And he's got 2 bodyguards and a battle standard.
Do the bodyguards?
So I chose to model all 3 of them on a 40. Yeah, they're bodyguards are 10 points each, and the battle standard's 10 points.
That's cool, man.
I like these.
So if you're playing small games,
when you sent me that link, I was like, oh, they gotta be here somewhere. These guys look great.
But are there only 4 elites in that thing you got, Malev?
Yeah, there's only 4 right here. So they'll probably just be bodyguard dudes.
Yeah, you could have them have 2 bodyguards and then have 2 more for making arcanists out of them or something.
Fred Frog's asking, what's your secret to making all these great games, Sean?
Well, I think part of it is just thinking about what games I'd want to play and, what I feel like hobbying on. Because, I get excited about other games, too. I get excited about other games and build armies and play them. But every once in a while, there's a gap where what I want to be playing is different than what's available.
Yeah.
So I've got my 9 bodies out, right? 9 is base. Those will be my line infantries, right?
Yeah.
So now I just need to pick 9 spears, axes, 2-handed long weapons.
Yeah, arm pairs. Yeah. And those ones in particular in that kit, in my experience, it's good to assemble them in mind that they'll be tightly packed in a little regiment.
I see.
And then when you're arranging them on the base, you'll be able to get them to fit together, because it's possible for them to be holding an axe in another guy's face.
Would I? So it uses round bases. Sludge.
Yeah, you can use square or round. It's up to your taste.
So, if I wanted to use these square bases that came with it, do the bases that come with it, are they appropriate?
They're kind of funny shapes, aren't they?
Yeah,
They are.
not
They're
square
weird
or
shapes.
anything, actually.
They're
Yeah,
like for different horses that they didn't include.
Yeah, they wouldn't be as rules friendly necessarily. Yeah, but you can definitely like mount them on those bases for painting if you're kind of.
Yeah. You said they go in 3s at a time, so I'm just gonna focus in 3s at a time here.
Yep, do it.
Yeah.
And then there are skirmishers, the Jaeger units, and they are individually based. So
what's my, when I'm building an army, I like to start thinking of the backstory. Which I understand I'm not going to come up with a story for all dozen or 24 characters here, right? But the army has a story, and it could influence how I paint them or how I'm building them. Do you have any recommendations for that sort of thought?
Some of it is up to what like type of table and setting you're trying to build toward. But the official sludge stuff is going to be like it matters like what kind of nation it is, whether they're free people or conscripts from a big empire or like I'm assembling some using the French troops, and they represent my like royalist faction, and they're part of the Chimera throne, this like secretive regent or noble king or queen that's has their military, and I have these these marines, royal marines that go in and land on the strips of land, advanced maneuvers. It's up to you. I mean, part of the idea, especially if you're just mashing together kits, is to sort of broadly think about like what the nation would be like, and think about what kind of color scheme you're going for, and then when you make banner stuff, you'd be able to make a heraldry of.
So I tend to like the scrappy guys who are like somewhat disinterested in the combat, but life has kind of forced their hand. Just I think I strayed away from the royalists. It sounds too organized for me.
Yeah, you don't. That's less. It doesn't sound like you're as excited about a professional army.
Yeah, mine, I was just pretty much trying to be inspired by the figures that I wanted to use. Thinking that I just wanted to use something that was just different, and going for these like Afghan guys and thinking about more, I guess, Eastern styles of armor and that kind of thing was where I was feeling inspired. And I was thinking sludgy and sort of thinking about just simple stuff like, if they're from the desert, it's like the sodden sands, and maybe there's lots of terrible sinkholes and like empires just kind of fall into the sands and whatnot. And just sort of thinking about this weird part of the world that could exist that has place for these people to dress like, be equipped and sort of.
So you're being very inspired by the kits themselves.
Yeah, and I was like at the store, I was sitting there thinking, oh man, like, should I grab some samurai? Like, I was looking at the ninjas, and I was like, do we want to just go straight samurai with it, or we just want to feel, But I ended up trying to go somewhere maybe in the middle. But yeah, it's definitely inspired by the kits, because the metal guys that I bought are also, even though they're from a different line and probably like when the Crusades to now, what were the Crusades to the 1800s? When were the Crusades? Like this, they're far away in
like
range.
10. There are multiple Crusades, but I think it's like 10 to 13 or something.
Yeah. Like, so I'm mashing like these kits that have a similar look, but technically from the ranges, there's hundreds of years apart.
No.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of, I mean, the way the world would be like kind of messed up, and then there's also like the pillars of reality are also in decay, so there's a definite chance that there are like alternate timelines bleeding into together.
So I've always kind of from the get-go, this is probably incorrect, but I've always imagined Sludge as almost like a Valhalla sort of like.
Oh, dude, I was
thing.
totally thinking about Valheim when he was talking about the way that the tree is like a part of the world, and how like in Valheim the skybox is just the world tree. And you realize you're on one of the branches pretty much playing the game. That was a really cool moment.
I just think that I don't know, I've always viewed it as like an afterlife thing. But it's not. Like these are people, this is the world they were born into.
This is this is
Yeah, I think it
after.
I mean, because people can use the magic of the world tree to live long, extend their life unnaturally, there is a sense of it being, and like losing their humanity as they do that. I think there's a bit of a Dark Souls influence in there, where there's like a vagueness to the world being hell or not.
Yeah, there's a bit of a purgatory sort of feel at times.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an appropriate thing to imagine.
I've got two little guys here.
I've built nine guys.
That's so many people,
Whoa.
Ben.
I just need to put some of their weapons on.
I'm about to glue one of the sludge heads on. So the head bits are flat on the bottom because across all of various plastic kits there are different types of connections, round or square or all kinds of stuff. So I figured one thing that plastic kits have in common is these nippers. So you can just like clip it flat and then put the head in.
And the plastic that the Perry's uses a little on the softer side too.
For
so
sure.
It clips like super easy if you've got some like nice sharp clippers.
This does make me want to get like really hair clippers.
Those God hand clippers.
Right.
I've
so
seen those. Thought about it.
There's talk of Nausicaa, which is like my all-time favorite comic book. Yeah, and that's part of, they're talking about a shortage of bullets and gear, and I think that ties into the world setting that there wouldn't, even though there's black powder level technology, there wouldn't be like equal access to black powder. And so having armies use crossbows or longbows and stuff like that totally makes sense. You wouldn't all have guns. And they're kind of, I mean, they aren't like really high tech muskets. So I think that you definitely don't just get like destroyed if you don't have black powder in your army. Just because.
Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to not use any guns.
And with that in mind, you can do like muskets act differently than bows act differently than crossbows, or for the game's sake?
Yeah, crossbows and bows use the same rules at this point. I intend to make, with the factions, make use of nations that have like specifically trained like longbowmen. But the difference between crossbows and muskets is the bows are less strength but higher rate of fire.
That's cool.
And they also don't cause shock, which is like additional psychology damage against leadership tests.
I just glued all of my fingers together.
Slick.
All of them? Show me. Hold it up.
I ripped
Just
them
got
apart.
lobster claw.
I got this monument seam scraper, and boy, am I scraping the seams right now.
Monument. If only there was like a way that I could get those things, but at a slight discount.
You could.
How's that?
By going to Monument Hobby. What is the website? I gotta check. Is it monumenthobbies.com? I think it is.
By Google searching.
It is. It is. Monumenthobbies.com. It's that simple. That's what happens when you just have stuff on just your bookmarks. You just be like, click, click.
And how could I enter? What kind of code would I enter?
I believe you can use code Malev at checkout in order to get yourself 10% on your first order from Monument Hobby.
Monument. Oh, yeah. Sean. Shields.
I'm Sean.
Shields.
Yeah.
I got a couple shields here. Can I use those?
Yeah. There aren't rules specifically for shields.
But I could put them with my line infantry for the style points.
Yeah, exactly. And those shields are like the big heavy shields, right?
Yeah, they're like the big tower shield ones.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that extra thin cement.
I have secret desires to make rules for like more fantasy armies, like Lord of the Rings style fantasy, and that's when I'm gonna have to start contending with like, well, what about heavy infantry? What about shields? Like, what kind of? But all in good time. But it would be fun to have.
So the Sludge group on Facebook, I've seen some people posting their armies. What's the coolest army you've seen that you didn't intend?
Oh man, there's one that's orange. Let me try and. Can you share images in Discord chat? Probably not.
You mean like Connor should be able to bring them up on screen?
Yeah, if you send it in the chat, I should be able to.
I'll try and find a link. I'll try not to take too long.
This guy's gap.
Can't remember that guy's name.
Not cool. I know which one you're talking about, though. So on that one
this is such a departure for me right now. I've been looking at nothing but space moon men, and I'm gluing like spears and like weird fantasy stuff together. It's honestly really nice.
It feels very foreign.
It's like these
for me right now. It does, yeah.
Especially when you're kind of like, for me, just getting into a lot of more, I guess, modern miniature designs and stuff. These kind of like classic feels are just so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I assembled the new Age of Sigmar box and some Games Workshop kits recently, and I don't buy Games Workshop kits very often. And man, they're just like, I don't know what they're thinking, but their kits are so bizarre.
They are.
The way they like sprue them and cut them up now.
Yeah,
I think
and
from the beginning, honestly, like just from the design, like you
so
just don't get to make decisions about anything.
I believe some of the decisions to like make them more complex shapes is to prevent people like recasting them.
I think that is. Yeah, and to get the aftermarket bits market, like
yeah, that's what I think it really is. So that you don't have a whole bunch of arms and pistols and heads and stuff. You design the head with the shoulder with the elbow.
Yeah.
And the back of the knee for some reason.
You do end up with some really wacky
But more than that, like my fingers got so sore trying to press fit these spiky chaos guys together. So frustrating.
Well, it's just like the Goliath Necromunda kit. I remember assembling those. Like the heads, the way they go together is like they're like mohawks, like fit down into their skull, and it was just like I had a bit of a chuckle when I was assembling them.
Sean had such a good time with that kit that he gave it to me when I was leaving his house with him.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the Necromunda box.
Necromunda
Yeah,
stuff.
I just
like no.
I really
No,
like
no,
this
it's fine
guy
for
that
me.
I just made. He's just a guy with a spear, and he has like a little baby shield. I think that's supposed to be a hat, but I made it a shield.
You should make a guy just scratching his head, like your guy in Luna. He's just like
Lunar astronaut.
He's just like having a bit of a crisis, you know.
Look at this guy, guys. Look at
I
this
made a guy
confused
running
geologist.
and a guy with a sword.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay. I made
This guy. He's just like, why am I? What's happening? You've got like a whole army, Ben.
I made some guys, and I'm using these cool pointy dude heads. I'm sorry, this probably won't focus very easily, but you know, let's see if I can.
Those look great.
Yeah, I'm using the pointy guy heads. I like them a lot.
Yeah, the Mobius.
Yeah.
Inspired.
And I'm mixing in some of the more like fantasy Pope looking ones, just cause. And then yeah, so you said it's about 5 to 6 stands of guys.
Yeah, per
like
line infantry unit.
Yeah, cool.
And I really think a small or like a average size starting army, you'd want like 10 stands of line infantry, I bet.
Okay.
Or 9, you could have it at 9, so you can have a unit of 3 and a unit of 6. Whatever. Experiment with minimum units and larger.
You know, this is the first army thing that I've even gotten into in a long time.
Ooh. Yeah, it's true. I'd been playing games where you have like, 6 to 12 units per side.
Yeah.
I have
Infinity
imported the photo.
Arena. You did it?
Imported this photo. Yes. What? So why do you like this army? Why is this the one that stuck out to you?
Matthias Bergenstrom. It's so cool. He's
the sole reason why I wanted these Afghan ones. I don't even.
Hey, he's in chat. He's in chat right now.
It's so like exotic and exciting, and like it's like a strong historical, like it's believable historical.
Yes, that's what I think.
But also obviously like fantastical, like that knight with the mohawk and stuff. It's just so great. It's such a cool army.
Those are those Frostgrave cultist bodies too, huh? On the front there.
That's really sick, dude.
Look, the carbine.
You should be super proud of that. Those look great.
Yeah, that army is.
I'm into those.
I hope someday I can play again. But then my army's gonna look crappy compared.
I kind of like that here in Sludge. I get to play with fantasy armies, but I don't feel like if I post my photos, there will be this like, oh, you used the wrong type of armor on his shoulder for the type of armor.
I was actually just thinking that. I was just thinking that before, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Because I'm definitely just
part of it.
Like throwing parts on these guys because I think they look kind of cool, you know.
I tried to get into because I love history, and so I picked up some black powder armies, and I started working on it, and I was like, oh, what's the army book for these guys? And they're like, oh, it's this, and it was just a history book, and I was reading about how like in between September and January of the following year of 1816, the color of the button had changed and the type of thread they used, and I was just like, oh man, this this is terrible. And then I showed people my painted units, and they're like, well, what brigade are they? Like, I don't see what color their shoulder epaulets are, and like what you're gonna need to order banners from this guy, and I was just like,
yeah.
And I was like, I really want to have cavalry, and they're like, well, the Russians didn't really use that kind of cavalry. They mostly had these Uhlans, and they aren't available in plastic. And I was like, I like the Austrians, and they're like, yeah, that'll never happen. And I was like, I give up. That's not what I want.
I don't know about that.
The first thing I did with Sludge was I was like, and add French and Austrians and Agincourt and these American Civil War. And that's another thing. Like, I really dislike the idea of wargaming American Civil War. Like, what a miserable war, and like what a miserable legacy it's had on my country. So it's just like not a place I want to play.
Yeah.
You know? And same with World War II. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, cool Nazi army. But with an alternate, like, just using these kits and adding a different shaped helmet, suddenly you can build a like really cool army, and it's not going to evoke all these like horrible racist eugenics programs into my, because my imagination goes straight to the darkest thing.
Yeah, it's interesting with historical gaming, isn't it? I think there's been that like constant debate of like what is fine to replicate on a tabletop and what is, too far.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna poo-poo other people doing historical gaming or even collecting Nazi tanks, like whatever. Hopefully you aren't like into Nazism, but like
they really get me going, man.
Germans made some cool tanks, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, but like I just, if I could choose, I wouldn't be. That's not a place I want to like play personally.
Yeah,
and like even the Napoleonic Wars, it's far enough back that you don't have like really a personal tie to it.
Right.
Like I have family members that fought at Waterloo with the Austrians, but like they're so far back, I've got no real connection to them. But anyways, but still when I'm playing with my Russian army, I think about, oh, these guys are all serfs. They're all owned by landed people, and like it's just so miserable. Anyway, so it's fun in a fantasy setting to be like, oh, look at these brutal people that were conquered by the empire and pressed into service, and they're living this horror world. So I don't know, because there are themes of the horror of it that I like, but also I'd like to remove it from reality a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's more allegorical.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's just my personal opinion.
Or
taste for gaming.
I've got this 40 mil from Warlord, and I'm like thinking, how should I base my entire army? Did you use GW 40 mil, Sean, with like the?
No, I used the Relic Blade 40 mil.
The DJ. Okay, word.
Because I've got like
a bazillion of those.
10,000.
Makes sense.
There is a extreme lack of right arms that aren't holding weapons.
Yeah.
Yes, there
and
is
left
certain
arms
things.
are holding weapons.
Yeah, generally, man, and people get shit for being left-handed today. It's probably way harder back then.
Especially if it meant sticking a axe in your neighbor's face.
I mean, I feel like back then they would have been like, he's possessed by a demon. He needs to be put in an Iron Maiden, and we need to put leeches on his body because he's left-handed,
He prefers the left.
As one does.
Is that what they did in Australia?
I think you don't want to know what they did in Australia.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Oi, what hand's your primary?
Is that an Australian accent?
That was my.
You have to say good day.
Yeah, oi, mate.
Good day, oi, mate.
It's funny, when I first moved here, I didn't change my vocabulary at all. And I learned very quickly that I needed to just tone down my phrasing a lot.
Can you tell me about some phrasing that you've toned
Well,
down?
it's just like basic, like "G'day, mate. How's it going?" That type of stuff.
Oh,
like I don't use mate. I don't use mate anymore. I don't use just simple things like that.
Yeah.
Because either it'll immediately launch me into oh, where are you from? Oh, and people are very polite. Don't get me wrong, but it's just
So you're just trying to get a drink from the gas station.
Yeah, it's I just want to buy this paintbrush at Michael's. I don't want to tell you my life story, But yeah.
But good day, mate. Bye.
I felt kind of bad when I was in Lubbock and we were bowling.
Oh my god.
And the guy was like, we were ordering food. He's like, "I love your accent. Where are you from?" And I think Connor had just been talking to him about
I was talking about Old Bay, the
right.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, my friend is from there, from Delaware. He really likes Old Bay." And I guess he assumed that my friend was the guy standing next to me.
Right, which was me. And then I started talking. He's like, "Oh, I love your accent. Where are you from?" And I was like, "Delaware." And he was like, "Oh man," I couldn't tell if he was just playing along with me or not. I felt kind of bad after.
He was like,
a really nice
"I'm
guy.
from Oklahoma." He's like, "I've never heard someone from Delaware before. That's interesting."
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh man, what if he thinks that it's just a weird Delawarean accent?" So yeah.
I dumped me tea in the harbor.
Yeah.
So Delaware, where the Boston Tea Party happened.
Don't shit on my geographical historical references.
I love it. All the more reason to be playing historical fantasy games.
I'm gonna make the Royal Army of Delaware. That's what my guys are gonna be called.
From Boston.
Yeah,
But
Delaware.
It's not our
Delaware.
Boston. It's just
Delaware,
Boston.
Massachusetts is where they're from.
They got Smat Pack.
Really hope that
People are just naturally curious, though. They want to ask, and it's fine. I don't, But I'm such an awkward person. I'm like, I'm socially awkward. I don't want to talk to people. So.
Well, sorry to bring it up that you're a foreigner.
I was at our old job. Our bosses always used to complain about immigrants, around me, and
oh jeez,
it's just be
"Oh no, we don't mean you.
No,
we don't mean you.
No.
Yeah, it's really funny sometimes.
Different.
What we're actually complaining about is brown people. You
Right.
The
Does that make me feel better?
Dude,
it's
it was pretty brutal at times.
Yeah.
You said
Was
that
that?
was in New York?
I guess we probably shouldn't say exactly.
Yeah,
what that was.
after saying that, I'm not going to say what the company is because I don't have any affiliation with them. But it could be any job that I've worked in my history of working. But yeah,
it's the sort of ironic blindness.
It is funny though.
I had a nightmare that
you
I
wouldn't
was
expect.
back.
You wouldn't expect Delawareites to be so back in your time in Delaware.
Yeah.
This guy's got some arms. Look, Ma, I've got arms.
I'm tempted to just put this
guy's
astronaut in here with everyone else, and that's why he's so confused.
He's just like, wait a second. This isn't the moon.
Houston, we've got a weird problem.
So let's build our armies, and then 4 weeks from now, you guys can fly to Texas, and then we'll stream a 4v4 huge sludge game.
Why don't you guys come? You guys can all come.
Table to play on. How about that?
But then I'd have to travel.
Traveling.
I don't really want to have to go outside.
Traveling
I'll fly
tough.
to California for the weekend, for Sludge Weekend 2021.
Sludge
Yeah,
Fest.
Sludge Fest.
Sludge
The
Fest.
Sludge-a-thon.
Imagine if we did that, though. Stream back-to-back games of Sludge. We could all
Imagine
dress
being
up.
the army.
Shush. Stop.
Ben asked me that once on stream. He said, imagine
Stop it.
being the army.
And I was like,
I think I remember
still
that.
to this day, what?
Greg likes to quote that back.
Oh,
to
it's
me.
the Bug King. Yeah, but what Bug King can build this table? Damn, Bug King's table would be just like ILM level. We would be able to just build in sections of the table to have like, like how in the production shots of the Hoth set that they had like the removable lids where the guy would be able to come out and film things. Be like that. To have a all crazy type of table where we'd be able to crawl under it and pop our head out under and then move the guys from the places we can't reach in the middle of the table.
I was looking in a garden and they had like this big, like kind of it was a big kidney shaped area of raised bed garden, and there was like a fruit tree growing out of one side of it, and it was built with like higher and lower areas types of plants, and I was just like, oh bro, that is like to scale the size of attractive land in Sludge. And you could build a little like outpost of buildings, and then the army's assembling, and you'd have to like march across. There'd be like stalemate areas where they've been fighting for months. Horrible trenches all dug throughout, and artillery batteries that make it just impossible to get up certain hills.
I have to have a 40mm base somewhere.
You've got it. So statistically, it's likely.
I'm trying to like think in my mind. Where would they be?
Yeah.
I mean,
I had no idea, guys. You guys would. I didn't know not everyone had like 10,000 40mm bases.
We have a bunch at the shop in Lubbock, but
I wonder if I should put up like base packets on.
Oh yeah, I mean, shit.
Like a bag of 10 bases. So what is Sludge? Never heard of it before. Well, the Bug King. It's a game that I wrote over the past year. It's in Blaster magazine. Well, it's actually a games anthology, Blaster Volume 3, and it is a full war game, fantasy black powder with knights and sorcerers and line infantry and hussars and dragoons and all the like sort of black powder Napoleonic era and basically pre-modern armies with fantasy elements added. And it's an opportunity to take historical kits and bash them into sort of ahistorical armies. What is the random number generator make? Like for dice? Like what type of dice do you use? A D10 and D6s. So I've got this D10s for like stat test against a target number, and then D6s for resolving damage.
Okay. So the decision to glue, I feel like I could do them individually, right? But I feel like if I glue them all on one base, I'll be less pressured to try and paint them amazing. So I feel like glue now is probably the proper route for my ass.
I'm gonna specifically try and paint these as quickly as I can.
I'm gonna put these on a shelf and wait till Ben gets in so that he can.
No.
And then
You're gonna paint these yourself.
Bug King wants to know if there are modifiers and how crunchy the rules are. There are bonuses and subtractions to your die roll, and then the target number stays stable. So, for example, if you have a unit of line infantry and they're going to fire their muskets, then they add their cunning bonus, and then you can also get bonuses from things like being on the line formation if they're line infantry. So you take those bonuses +3, and then if they have any stress on them, which is the mechanic for like disorder in the unit, then they'd have subtractions for that. You arrive at a final modifier. You roll 10. If you meet or exceed the target number, it's successful. And then there are varying levels of success. So if you miss by 1, then it's -1 burst, which is how many damage dice you get. And then if you miss by 2, it's -2 burst. And then if the subtraction gets all the way down to that there's no more burst, then you completely fail the attack.
Huh.
So it's nice. It speeds it up where you're doing like one test for each action you're doing, rather than rolling a bucket of dice and then picking out the successes and then rolling a bucket of dice. And then the damage roll is each character that is in range for the attack applies their burst value to the attack, and that makes the combat pool. And then there are damage bonuses to that dice roll, and you try and meet or exceed the defense of the unit that you're attacking. So if you've got +2 to your die roll and their defense 6, then a 4 or higher will be successful at wounding them. And then probably the more exciting, or not, I'm not like trying to toot my own horn, but like one of the very flavorful rules is the gore mechanic, where when characters are wounded, they drop gore, and then that ends up being the psychology target number. So as much gore as is within 5 inches of them is what they have to test against their nerve. So as there are more and more dead bodies piling up across the battlefield, they have to test
harder to do stuff.
The higher difficulty in order to stay not stressed. And if characters get too stressed, they'll flee, or and any stress they have on them is also a negative modifier on their test. So it's very cool because they're big armies marching across the battlefield, and then over here where there was a skirmish, there can end up being like a pile of gore that's left. And so late game, you really get a sense of the devastation that was wrought across the battlefield. So it has a lot of flavor and sort of grim style.
Sounds brutal. It sounds like
this is a really fun mechanic to resolve, and it catches you in such a weird way because of the way also on top that you have the alternating activations. Like in one activation, you can be thinking like, oh, I want my cavalry to go charge these guys. But if he charges these dudes first and generates a whole bunch of gore and kills them, it just like really makes my cavalry charge just a little bit different now because all those dudes just got slaughtered in front of them.
Yeah. Bug King is asking the $1 million question: will the rules be available alone? So I developed these rules as part of the Blaster collaboration that I'm doing with other game designers, and so it's published in Blaster. So right now it's only available there. My intention is to write more Sludge content for Blaster, and then hopefully if it gains enough momentum, I'll be able to take the time to write even more content and collect it into a final rulebook. But that'd be more like a couple years down the road rather than an imminent release. So right now it's going to be released through the anthology, and I realize like that makes it more expensive, but really, I mean, Frostgrave. Blaster is a games anthology that I'm part of. There are 5 authors. There's Joseph McCullough, who wrote Frostgrave and Oathmark and Rangers of Shadow Deep and Stargrave. He wrote other ones too. And then Ash Barker. Oh, Malev linked it. Ash Barker, who has a YouTube channel where he plays tons of miniature games, Guerrilla Miniature Gaming. And he wrote Gamma Wolves and Last Days Zombie Apocalypse. And Joe McGuire, not to be confused with Joe McCullough. We call him Joey. He wrote what's the cyberpunk one?
Reality's Edge.
Yeah,
and this is not a test. Yeah.
Have you guys, not to interrupt, but have you guys seen that book in person?
It's like this thick.
It's fat.
Bro, that thing is insane. Like it's a Jason Bourne room killer. Like you give him,
look at that.
It's clearing it.
Yeah.
Because it is very thick. Yeah. Whoa.
It's pretty cool. I'm a fan of his work. Joey's such a nice guy.
Yeah. And then there's myself. I make Relic Blade, and now I'm also working on Sludge through that group. And then Mike Hutchins wrote Gasland Billion, and he's got so many games that he's on his like back burner. It's hilarious. And we also together wrote a game called Mystic Skies, and that's in Blaster Volume 2. So far we have standalone games in every issue and or every volume, and that's because Mike is so driven.
Oh yeah, I was thinking, what's the one from the first one? But it's the Mars Federation thing, huh?
Yeah, Martian Federation,
Martian Gasland stuff.
Mm-hmm. Where it's like Formula One Gasland Super Tech.
I think I finally.
I'm not really any good at kit bashing.
9 min.
Connor's really good at kit bashing, actually.
I used to be more into it, but now that I started sculpting models, I'm like, what's the point? Just sculpt the model.
Yeah. I actually somewhat feel the same these days. I'm like, just make my own.
My mic keeps on. I'm sorry. My wife is working also on inside, so she's got a.
I thought you were about to say my wife is working also on her army, and I was like,
no, she's not working. That would be great. No, my mic is probably cutting out because of strain on our internet.
I think it's been doing all right.
It's been holding up.
Yeah, it hasn't been dropping. Like it will drop, but you come back and still it will complete the sentence as opposed to skipping.
These guys. That's a 60 mil base. So
yeah, that's too big.
You're too big.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
I literally just ordered 40 mil bases while we were chatting. So
nice,
these are my people.
Oh, look at that shield, man! I don't have any cool shields on mine.
Nice work, Connor.
That's pretty cool.
Those fancy little dudes.
Look at them little guys.
So that's my line infantry, huh? That's my that is my bullet, my cannon fodder, right there.
Yeah, they're also gonna do a lot of damage. They're like, the idea is that it's an age of infantry superiority. So
if they don't, pikes are a different weapon than swords. Because I only have 2 pikes in this entire Afghan kit.
Yeah, and they're for banners. No, if you want to do a close combat unit of line infantry, I would probably build shock troops with the Afghan, which are like an elite close combat unit with the swords, and then use the muskets for line infantry and Jaegers.
Connor, you may have some Test of Honor stuff left over you could use too.
I was thinking about that. I don't know where it would be.
I've heard good things about those kits.
Dude, I love the Test of Honor kits.
Mm-hmm.
We randomly the like local warlord rep guy demoed it for us at a con like ages ago, and both Connor and I were like, "This seems kind of fun." And we just like would play that game on our lunch break a lot.
Test of Honor.
Test of Honor, honestly, I think it's a pretty fun game. I liked it. It's quite simple, but it was really fun. We had some good times.
It's into a new edition, right? Like I think a guy got it from.
I think it's just they just had to re-release it.
Yeah,
right.
It's a slightly different product technically.
And now the boxes are putting.
He like added. I watched an interview with him. He wrote tons of content.
Yeah, it's a lot more than the original stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it
like
had to be
rules for
substantially different to some degree. But
well, I don't know about all that.
Oh, you're saying like the second edition of Test of Honor is like actually different rules and stuff?
No, it's just like there were some rights issues, and so they had to like re-release it and make it different, I think.
Yeah, there was some weirdness between them and Warlord, I think.
Sean, who should I build next?
You could build your commander.
Alright, so this is going to be like a hero-looking dude?
Yeah, a guy that's in charge, and you could give him a dude with a banner pole next to him, and a bodyguard, or you could just have him on his own, depending on if you're going to play like larger or smaller games. And you can model them on separate bases and have that like little unit just be the commander when you add the upgrade or not. I modeled mine so that it's all with this loadout, but you can just model them on separate bases and have that guy with retinue.
Sean, tell King about the setting. He wasn't here for the Sludge setting. He's definitely.
Oh yeah, it is set in a decaying world tree. So there's like these guilds of arcanists who were harvesting the like heartwood out of the world tree to gain like the magic potential of reality. And it worked really well until the world started to die and it all broke apart. So now there are like vast tracts of land that are suspended in the branches of like the dying Yggdrasil. Yes. Yeah, Yggdrasil is dying. And part of that is that the 9 hells are now meeting together. And so it's a doom age of black powder. You've got armies of men fighting for what's left, what land is left. And it's like really brutal. And there's latent magic in the land. But the landscape has been so hotly contested and fought over that there's lots of networks of forts and trenches that have traded hands a bunch of times and ruins. Yeah, there are land masses with large gaps in between, and like it'd be like a bottomless pit, I guess, but big roiling storms and things throughout the gaps. So, and then they're connected through roots and networks of branches and everything. So there are ways to get between, and then they also, from the age of Arcanism, there are flying ships that can take armies between the different group land masses. And then you can also, wealthier nations have built construction that like bridges the gaps between land.
Which of these sludge heads would I use for my commander?
It's up to you. There's the one with the like
the sideways
crest.
mohawk.
Yes.
Yeah. So that one's sort of like the like officer head that I included in that kit. But it's up to you. You could use whatever you want. On my army where they have the high caps.
Oh, Hollow Point. Good to see you.
Oh. I think he's deployed on this. I just used the Napoleonic officer with a high cap.
Cool.
And then he's got a grenadier with him as a bodyguard. So he's got the like bear skin hat that they wore more historically. And then they've got a banner with a chimera on it.
I'll use my fun hat.
Your fun hat? This is my war hat.
Hey, we're going out to have some fun on the battlefield today.
Sludge is played on a 4x4. You can, if you get to like large games, I find that a bigger map works well. But 4x4 is what the scenarios and everything are. And you know, ranges and movement are all planned based on that game size.
Already had.
Commander's got a big beard.
Commander's got a gun.
Yeah, it's crazy. They added that big beard to that sculpt.
I got Commander
Everyone else
now.
just
He's yelling to move forward, pointing and giving a war
I
cry.
gave my commander a double-handed sword because he's a Chad.
Double-handed sword?
Yeah, look at this.
Like a big broadsword?
Look at this.
I wish I had a double-handed.
Oh yeah, that looks awesome.
It's just, I know it's totally out of focus. I apologize.
I can tell
Look
what
at
it
the
is. I
struggle.
mean, it's unpainted green plastic.
Of the two number 5 arms right now. I'm like, oh man.
Just a little bit off.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
What the heck are you doing?
Yeah, why are the number 5 arms not matching up?
So he needs a bannerman? I don't know if I have a banner.
Oh, you know what I use? I use aluminum from a drink can.
You just put it on a spear.
Yeah, wrap it around a spear or a banner pole.
Man,
You can make them out of whatever, but I like those because you can bend it and make it have like a wave to it.
That's an old school trick, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Classic.
Those you used to learn that stuff in Games Workshop, but
Yeah. Oh, the good old days.
now you have to drink Games Workshop Pepsi TM in order to get that technique told to you.
Yeah.
Proprietary.
No,
Ultra drink.
Proprietary.
It has to come like in a $50 plastic frame
Yeah.
You gotta cut it out.
with the logo already like engraved in.
All right, we're gonna try 6 then.
Well,
It's
how
funny,
many
I was-
people you built?
Me?
Yeah.
3.
3 full.
This guy's got a cool beanie though, so I think I'm winning.
What? Where'd you get a beanie from?
The Afghan kit. And then I've got 2 guys with this short caps. The sludge kit.
I'm ready to start painting.
What the earth? Why is there no hand on this?
I need to base.
Do you need a sword?
I wish I had 40 mil bases so bad.
No, the hand.
Would his second in command just be like a normal looking guy with the heads? Bannerman.
For the band. Yeah. Yeah, you could use whatever you want. Oh shoot, what cut? Oh, that must be it. Yeah, the banner guy, and then also his bodyguards. You might have a foot knight or someone equipped with like really heavy.
Like a big sword. I like axes. I like kind of rocking these axes here.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I've got my bodyguard on this is an American Civil War guy, and with the Agincourt. I think it's a French Agincourt two-handed axe, and then the assault helmet from the Sludge kit.
So I keep picking up my Continental Army guys, and I feel like they just don't match my Agincourt people so much so that I'm hesitant.
Maybe they're a separate army.
Maybe you could use them as the officers.
I don't know, man.
The Agincourt set, and then also the like European mercenary set from Perry are like practically a Sludge army in a box.
That's cool.
Because they've got enough variety of like ranged and close combat weapons. But I mean, that said, you could also get an ACW kit and build a whole army and just not worry about having bayonet do work.
Or bayonets like a part of a rifle crew? Or
Yeah,
like
guys with
rifles?
muskets. Bayonet. Ooh,
So,
cool. This guy's got
Commander, Bannerman, 2 bodyguards, or just 1 bodyguard?
it depends on your list. And you can model them separately or together.
Yeah.
And if you drop a sludge head into a box of Kingdoms of Akkad box sets, it is gone forever.
It's gone. Yeah.
It's
top slope for everything. Shit. There's just so many decisions to be made. That's the one thing that I do when it comes to these multi-part plastic kits. I do find myself slowing down a lot and really being like, oh yeah, I want this head. Wait, how does this head? Nah. This guy totally wants these arms. Puts me in
for me, I gotta just
superpose
check out
mode.
and just be like, I just gotta check out and be like, this, just assemble, guys. It's okay if their shoulder pads and sleeves don't match.
Sean, how do you deal with firearms and close combat weapons? Range restriction on muskets, penalty for accuracy, longer.
Yeah,
ranges?
so the era that I'm representing, muskets aren't super accurate and rifles are a lot more expensive. So generally people are using low quality muskets, and it's like range 12 inches and they're strong and they'll like tear people up, but especially in the volley. But it's I've read accounts where people talk about how it really comes down to the bayonet in that era, and like real decisive infantry charges. So I kind of figure if guys are equipped with close combat weapons, then they're gonna be more determined to get into close combat and holding formations that'll give them defensive bonuses against the incoming musket fire. So one of the historical accounts I was reading was which battle? It was when Napoleon was on his like Russia campaign, and I think it was at Moscow. There were units of peasants that they didn't have guns, so they gave them pikes, And like the thinking of the time was that like, oh, there's no way close combat guys would stand a chance because like muskets are so cool and high tech and they're like gonna explode and there's gonna be smoke and it's so spooky. But when the peasants just had spears, they were so much more determined to actually just close and get into close combat that it ended up being an extremely effective fighting unit. Just because they were like, you guys don't get guns, so you don't get to shoot guns. So if you're going to fight, you have to close the gap and you have to put a pointy end in the enemy. Whereas guys with muskets were more inclined to like want to shoot their musket.
Yeah, no, I'm going to stay over here.
Yeah. So anyways, thinking about
me?
the Sludge world, where there are nations that don't have equal access to gunpowder, folks equipped with pole weapons are going to just be on the field differently than folks that can line up and unload musket shot into enemies.
That whole description you just gave really reminded me of the game that we played when I like had like 6 bases of line infantry just get weighted in by like 6 foot knights, and those foot knights got to work as the guys were just like, I'm just trying to reload my it just everybody's getting cut down as they
Yeah, the foot knights are really powerful. They're a good unit to try and explode before they get to you.
Yeah, it was one of those moments.
They're more along the lines
rules
like
translated. The rules translated really well because I was just like, oh, I get it. Like, I just blasted off all my shot. These guys got to spend 2.5 minutes to 5 minutes reloading their weapons as they just nervously stare at those dudes slogging across the mud at them with their broadswords. Are those guys coming at us?
What it would have been like fighting in one of those battles.
Imagine being the battle.
Imagine being an army or the modern army.
I think I was watching a movie. What was that next Netflix movie?
Stranger Things?
No, it was the one where there was the battle scene. I forget what the battle was.
Yeah. I know you're talking about
Jack.
Dawn of the Army of the Dead.
No. It was the one with the Timothy Chalamet, the kid in it.
Dune?
King?
What was the movie?
Timothy Chalamet. I've only known him from Dune, so I definitely don't know.
I have made, I think...
Yeah, it was The King. It was the movie The King.
The King.
Yeah.
I know.
The battle scenes in that are like pretty hectic and like brutal. And it's just like, man, what would have actually been like to be in a battle like that? It's crazy.
Oh,
I mean, being in the melee would have been bananas, but I think probably most people's experience of it would be like standing around for hours and hours and getting so tired of holding your gear and then seeing in the distance where some cavalry is running.
That's true, yeah.
They come closer and they're going that way, and then there's like a guy runs over and is like, hey, you guys need to go over there, and you're like,
yeah.
Some really tired dude runs up to your unit.
I'm pretty happy with my guys here. I like the mix of I like the one shield guy, as if like OSHA requires every unit to have one shield for a safety measure, but these people are like, all right, Jim, I guess you get the shield this time. And he's just like, okay, like
I'll cover you.
Hold it out there.
OSHA.
OSHA.
What is that acronym for? The Kingdom of OSHA.
The Kingdom of the Army of OSHA is Connor's army. Well, I would love to keep building stuff, but I probably need to call it there, I think.
I
dinner to eat, and I have got vehicle art to finish.
Cool.
I only built 3 guys.
You only built 3?
Well, I mean,
Ben, how many people did you build?
Well, I've got the 9 out, but yeah, my
3,
line, man.
6, 9.
She took my first
12.
base though.
You went with your
I did.
rifleman.
Yeah, I'm gonna do at least 3 of the muskets. Have a little crouching guy in the front. Kind of always seems like a good thing.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like the levels. Shoot
I
the
did
knees.
12 guys, but I did more of them, but they don't have weapons on them yet. So,
Sean, how many people did you make here?
I assembled 4 guys.
Well, in this competition, Ben and I are winning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you guys are slow.
For real.
I like this astronauts though. I'm genuine. He may. The more this guy, just in the background.
How is he standing up?
This dude is
I used a little bit of super glue right on his little foot.
He glued him to the table.
Just a little bit.
He's an arcanist.
So to sum it up,
yes. So Sludge Blaster. It looks. There are some comments here on Facebook. Is there a Sludge version for sale? No, it is all anthology now. There may be one eventually down the road, but Blaster is part of the reason why Sludge is getting made, and that version won't come out for a time frame measured in years, not weeks. So if you want to get on the Sludge,
it'd be more like a second edition, omnibus. But like the idea is that Sludge will continue to grow through the like.
There's a lot of cool stuff from a lot of great artists, and even if you just get like the first edition, just to see how it is, you can buy the PDF version of it, right, to test it out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to buy the print.
Yeah, and it has content for a bunch of really good indie games.
Yeah, it's it's something maybe worth checking out. If this stream appealed to you in any way, Blaster probably will too. What's up, Joe? Sculptor said that he ordered his copy of Sludge with a few issues of Spellcaster. So now he waits. Okay, yeah. Thank you. I'll say thank you on behalf of Sean, I guess.
Thank you.
It is fun. I don't really have any sort of historical bone in my body. They're all new. No, but it's just fun. I think the closest thing was building those Test of Honors, and I think being able to kind of play this, but with this idea of I'm not having to worry about the color of thread on their buttons, is very appealing. So definitely worth it. Malev down building his 4th man is Malev Flow Shinobi. He is also on Twitch. Malev, if you want to tag yourself in chat, I'm sure almost everyone here may know of him, but if not, that is twitch.tv/Malev Flow Shinobi. Sean Sutter, Metal King Studio, relicway.com. And then Ben and I up here at Blacksite, which we're going to go finish up some touches on the vehicle rules of Lunar. If you haven't followed Lunar, blacksitestudio.com/Lunar. You can check us out on our Facebook pages, all of us.
Hey, yo.
And there's a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but there's Sludge stuff on Blacksite.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
like,
we sell.
People should buy
the Sludge conversion heads sculpted by Sean Sutter, and the Sludge token sheet, which pop out.
Which
tokens.
a gore mechanic is like a key component of the game, and so that token sheet really gets you going on the game a lot faster because they need to be 1 inch because the space they take up on the table is important. So it's very nice to have the illustrated game aid. You can also, of course, just get a whole bunch of 1 inch tokens. And
this token sheet has been made just for you.
That's true.
And right here. Happy birthday.
This is Connor's sales tactics. I'm handing it to you through the screen. You got to buy it, dude. You got to buy it.
I'll be like, hey, how's it going, man? Here, hold this for a second. Now, can I have the money?
Yeah. How does it feel? Oh, it's yours.
I just need to point out that I just need to point out that Connor was like, I don't have a historical bone in my body. Now I have to get back to writing rules for the historical game I am writing.
It's very true.
It's 60 years ago. That's not history.
Yeah. That's just hist.
I view history as anything past 3 generations. So at this point, the 1920s are the edge of history for the people alive right now. That's how I view it.
So World War II is not a historical event.
Not yet.
That's a modern era event right now.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I'll adjust this. Anyways, that said, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, Sean and Malev. Hopefully, we'll be back with a few more Sludge streams here in the next bit. We also need to get into some Relic Blade and Mystic Skies. You've promised me a game there, so I'm not going to let you forget that one.
I want to see you guys play that. I'll watch that.
Get my carpet.
Pungent, thanks for the follow, my man.
Thanks for
Novus
hanging
Order,
out,
the tokens
everyone.
and heads, a real MVP. You the best. Love you guys. Happy gaming. Safe sitting in a chair or traveling, whatever you're doing. I didn't really have an outro plan for this one. Thanks for everyone being here.
Yeah, y'all.
And good luck with those historical bones.
They're strong.